Supreme Court ruled 6-3 in favor of the state of Mississippi versus Dobbs. This changes 50 years of precedent. U.S. Representative Doug LaMalfa, California Republican, joining us now to talk about this. Doug, you heard the ruling come down, Roe versus Wade overturned. What are you thinking this morning?
Well, after these many years, it's amazing that it got done. It was a wrong decision in the way that was done nearly 50 years ago, and the court taking an action and creating out of whole cloth a guise to make this legal instead of the legislatures doing it themselves. So the states are going to take this up. Maybe Congress will do something about it on a nationwide basis, but I think we see already a process where the states are going to act on it in the way they see fit.
Do you think, Representative LaMalfa, this is kind of a touching point? We had the ruling on guns yesterday, which kicks it from states up to the federal about the gun rights law. People are wondering about same-sex marriage, LGBT rights, and going before the court. And I know, obviously, today's ruling doesn't talk about that, but it is a more conservative court. Do you see more rights changing fundamentally as we move forward with this Supreme Court?
Well, on the gun decision there, that's a restoration of rights. I think some of the media are trying to say it's an expansion of rights, but really it boils down to that before some decades previously, when they started restricting the ability for you to be armed in your home or on your person, that was a right that went back basically to the beginning of this country.
Right, but so Representative LaMalfa,
the court wants to go in a direction of following constitutional views instead of those that have been made by case after case.
No, I understand what you're saying right there, but I think a lot of people interpret that as yesterday the Supreme Court said this is not, the state shouldn't have the right to put such a restrictive measure into place. This should be, if there is going to be one, federal. Today they seem to go the other direction, say this should be a state issue as far as abortion is concerned. But let me also ask you about...
There's important nuances. Let me get to that.
Okay.
The gun rights to arms are guaranteed in the Constitution by the Second Amendment. The Constitution makes no mention of abortion.
Well, that was part of the ruling today, and that's what the Supreme Court justices obviously felt today. I guess also I think a lot of people, there've been lots of polls, you've probably heard of many of them, that say a majority of Americans feel that there should be some abortion protections in place. This flies in the face of that. What would you like to say to those people?
Well, I think life protections should take precedence over abortion, because that is a guarantee of life, liberty, and property in this country. So the unborn life is no different really than a born life, and we're seeing even born life being assaulted with some of the ideas coming out of California. So I think they're finding a correct balance here in this, and that a life is a life and that they should be protected. So I think when the courts have ruled differently 50 years ago, they were out of line on doing that. So this is going to go to a legislative process across the states, and that'll be where you have accountability by having a committee process, by having open debate, by people being able to weigh in on how they want to tell their elected officials how to act on that. And then the states will go from there.
State by state. Representative Doug LaMalfa, thank you so much for joining this morning, weighing in on the issue. We appreciate your opinion. Thank you.